Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, and a whole bunch of other star actors. They all tried on samurai armor, transforming into the main warriors of Japan. We don't dare judge how skillfully Tom or Keanu wielded their swords. But the armies of fans for the films, The Last Samurai, and 47 Ronin are quite large. This proves that legendary sword wielders with katanas have long crossed Japan's borders. The samurai culture is a treasure of all humanity. The legendary warriors with a unique code of honor. Vibrant armor and perfect weapons are known in every corner of the globe. It is not surprising. Samurai are really cool. For 1,000 years, they kept order in Japan, and were the main stars of the region. Now let's take a closer look at how skilled the samurai were in battle. And there's definitely something to watch. Their mastery of weapons was truly flawless. Can one really clumsily swing such beauty? The legendary katana is the perfect cold weapon. For many the best in history. Simply a work of art. The Japanese masters still do not reveal all the secrets of katana making, but now they allow people into their workshops. Such swords began to be forged in the 15th century. They continue to do this, without changing the traditions and rules of this process. Katana are not made just for souvenirs or tourists to please. This weapon remains relevant even as a means of self-defense. Even during World War II, Japanese soldiers carried this sword with them. It's rumored that after victories in battles, Americans would first take this aesthetic weapon from the defeated enemy. The sword is full of legends. As with many other aspects of samurai culture, it's difficult to confirm these tales. They say the katana is the only weapon that has its own spirit. How can you verify that? But there are plenty of verified facts about the sword that are enough to amaze you. Take the quality tests that were conducted on this weapon. A flawless katana with a factory guarantee was expected to cut through 2 human torsos. This is how the samurai tested their weapons for some time. Later the tests were changed. Instead of people they cut bamboo. Perhaps conscience started to appear, or maybe obedient servants were just running out. The katana became the improved successor to another Japanese sword, the tashi, and immediately earned the status of the queen of the battlefield, becoming the favorite of the samurai. Even despite the rapid progress of firearms and the strategic importance of bows, swords continued to be actively used on the battlefield. The ability to fence, to fight with swords against the enemy, remained the foundation of the skill set of most samurai. This is not a tribute to history, a habit or superstition. The outcome of prolonged confrontations was often decided by close combat. The katana combines power and precision. Powerful enough to split a person in half, and yet sharp enough that a samurai could slice a hair. In medieval Japan, there were only a few schools of masters who forged this weapon. Their secret lay in the absolutely unique combinations of sulfur, carbon, iron, and other ingredients. No one wrote down the proportions. They felt the sword. The knowledge was passed from teacher to student. The secret of the katana's power is not in its size. It is a small light sword. Its total length, including the handle, is about 100 centimeters, weight up to 1 kilogram. This is half the weight of the cold weapons used by knights in Europe at the same time. The katana was as powerful as its old-world equivalent. The secret lies in the amazing elasticity. This cushioning allowed it to withstand even the harshest impacts without shattering into pieces. This weapon served for centuries. Another advantage of katana is its versatility. With this sword, one could not only slash, but also cut and even thrust at the enemy. One weapon for all occasions. In the Middle Ages, it was a true marvel. The process of making this marvel took several months. In a special rectangular tatara furnace, iron-rich sand was purified at high temperatures. It contains much less phosphorus and sulfur. They make the iron brittle. The carbon in the furnace mixes with iron-rich sandstone. This is how a unique type of steel is born. The Japanese call it tamahagane. The carbon content is perfect, giving the katana its key trait, strength. Carbon cushions the weapon internally, preventing cracking on impact. They added impurities like sulfur to the katana's edge. The sword became very sharp. At a temperature of about 1000 degrees, all impurities fall to the bottom of the furnace. Only pure steel remains. Its cost is about 5 times higher than that of regular steel. Raw material is ready. It is tested and sent to the forge, where the raw metal loses half its weight and becomes a sword. Forging removes impurities. Next is the hardening. The weapon on fire acquires a bright crimson color. Then it is pulled out and quickly cooled. At this point the katana gets its elegant curve. A hard sharp material at the edges, soft elastic inside, and a powerful razor-sharp blade. A perfect sword. After the main work was completed, the almost finished sword was passed on for polishing and sharpening the blade. It was a very responsible task. This process could take 2 weeks. First, the weapon was polished with a large stone, then with a smaller one. The curve gives a katana its uniqueness, intentionally. The sword must be extension of the samurai's arm. This curve allows to thrust and slash in battle. Katana is not only one of the best and most aesthetic swords, but also perhaps the most popular. This Japanese weapon often appears in Hollywood blockbusters, even in those where samurai are not mentioned. Kill Bill, Equilibrium, First Squad, the heroes of these films wield the katana. Video game developers also eagerly weave this sword into their storylines. So we're not sure about its own spirit, but the katana definitely has a unique charisma. For example, the short sword wakizashi, which samurai also carried into battle, never gained such fame. How do you defend against the best weapon? With the best armor. The samurai's armor is equally suited for military conflicts and fashion shows. It's about wealthy warriors. Servants wore primitive armor. They glued layers of paper and fabric, then coated it with lacquer for water resistance. That's it. Such armor withstood sword slashes quite well. But powerful spears hardly noticed it. The armor of wealthy samurai was expensive, even exquisite. Just the helmets are worth mentioning. Of course, handmade, custom orders. These hats are called kabuto. Samurai chose their own decorations. Usually it was a symbol reflecting the owner's special talents, speed or force. These helmets were asymmetrical, often of quirky shapes. Some were so beautiful that they were never worn in battle. They were kept at home as works of art. The armor was also luxurious. They consisted of small laced plates. The design was so complex that servants helped the samurai put on armor. It's not about laziness. The armor simply had a lot of cords and ties, mostly on the back. It was worn by mounted samurai. Focus was on protection from arrows and rear attacks. This protection is called oyuroi. A feature is large shoulder guards, osode. The chest is shielded by a lacquered plate. The helmet had special flaps at the back to protect against arrows. There was a cloak attached to the helmet and belt. It softened the impact of arrows shot from behind. Foot samurai wore damaro armor. It is stitched with red cords. It had other advantages: small shoulder pads, light skirt, all to remain agile and mobile. Over time, damaro was improved. For back protection, they added a part called coward plate, because a true samurai should never turn his back on the enemy. Under all of this, they wore regular chainmail or a cheaper, lighter version of Harit armor. 3 plates protected the legs. Hands were also hidden under armor. The most common colors of armor were red, orange, crimson, black and brown. Later blue became popular as this dye protected silk from sun fading. Red was favored as it was intimidating, and blood wouldn't show on it. White was worn by warriors fighting for a hopeless cause, preparing to die. In the 16th century fashion changed, there were many battles. Laced armor was replaced by solid metal plates, which were more comfortable and cooler. It was adorned with engraving or bare fur. Otherwise, the Japanese wouldn't be Japanese. Putting on this armor was also a quest. It was hung from the ceiling or placed on a box. They managed without the servants. Finally, the tense period of constant conflicts among the great Japanese lords ended. The feudal lords got tired of fighting. The need for a large number of samurai diminished. Armed servants were left without work. Most warriors switched professions, except a few small security units. Some became farmers, while others joined the ranks of the ninja, becoming hired assassins. What was more present in the samurai, genius and nobility, or pomp and idleness? Historians often disagree. Still, the Japanese warriors were able to repel 2 Mongol invasions led by Kublai Khan, and eventually organize a grand career growth. From simple servants to the aristocracy, the elite of society. The harsh facts prove samurai are not just colorful warriors, but true gods of war.